now, someone is going to come and tap me on the shoulder. Any day now, they're going to ask me to be a manager. Well, guess what? Nobody ever came. It wasn't until I went to talk to Eric, who was my boss at the time, and I said, "Hey, Eric, I just want you to know that I'm interested in becoming a manager." And his response was, "Oh, really?" I said, he took me aback for a couple of seconds, and I was like, "Yeah, what do you mean, oh, really?" He goes, "Well, you never said anything." Ding, ding, ding. Those 4 words, "you never said anything," were ringing in my head. And I'm going, oh my goodness, I'm 40 years old. How could I not said anything in the past? And the reason why I'm telling you this is because once I started advocating for myself, then things started happening. 6 months later, I was finally promoted to be a manager, but I had to start advocating for myself. Now, we're here today to talk about knowing your worth and getting ready to negotiate. And I'm just so excited to share this content with you because I am hopefully going to help, even if I help one person not make the mistake of waiting for someone to come and tap them on the shoulder, then I've already done my job. But here's some things that I'm going to start with, very standard statistics. And these are things that your boss is never going to tell you. So seriously, when I first learned about this first one, which is men apply for jobs having 50% of the skills, and Hewlett Packard did a study many years ago about that, and they found that women applied till they had 100% of the skills. So it was just crazy. That one statistic changed my worldview about employment. Another one is that men initiate negotiations 4 times more than women. 20% of women never negotiate. And what does that mean? That means that we are leaving money on the table. And when a woman doesn't negotiate, you're going to earn up to $2 million less than a male counterpart simply by not negotiating. The statistics do not lie. So I have good news for you. The good news is that you already negotiate. Whether you realize it or not, you're doing it in many different capacities. So if you're a mom or if you have a family, regardless of, the mom project, you are already the CEO of your family in your home. So you're operating as the primary responsibility for the entire family in your home. You're the chief operating officer. So the day-to-day operations, you have to make sure that the kids get to where they need to go. You're the chief financial officer. You're typically managing your budget and your finances. You're the chief information officer. Anytime there's some research to do, you're typically going to be the one that's going to do it. You're the chief technology officer. If the internet breaks down, or if the iPhone breaks down, or your kids are on Zoom and something's happening, you need to be there to help them. Chief medical officer, of course, if your kids are sick, you're going to figure out, how sick they are so that you can take them to the doctor. You're the chief human resources officer because you're hiring personnel, whether that's a sports coach or dance coach or tutoring. And then finally, you're the chief learning officer because you are responsible for the education and learning of your family. And so all of that is a lot. So I want you to take a moment, and this time today, yesterday and today, we have a lot of great information with the Mom Project delivering to you. And I want you to just take a moment and savor this time to reclaim a little bit of yourself. I want you to think about now your career. And this could be, if you're a stay-at-home mom, it could be you're thinking about going back to work. If you're working, you may be thinking about a position or maybe going to another organization. And all of that is scary. And we're going to talk about emotions a little bit later, a little bit more. But I have found through the time in coaching people that there are typically 3 career blockers. So if you want to know what your career blocker is, the QR code is on the screen. So You can take the free quiz. It's 3 minutes, 10 questions, super easy. And there's 3 blockers. So the first one is you may not know that you're deserving and worthy for that new position, or that, you're scared to go back into the workforce. The second one is mindset. Your mindset might not quite be ready to take action to step into a new position. And then finally, and the one that we're going to focus on today, is that you may not have a focused strategy all the way identified and written out. So those are the where we're starting from, the 3 career path blockers. But again, we're going to focus on part of the focus strategy. Okay, so I have found that there are 6 phases in the negotiation process. And by the way, I'm still releasing, I think the 8th episode of a negotiation series on my podcast just released at the beginning of the year. So you can go on the No Woman Left Behind podcast to get 8 hours of negotiation conversation. But here's the 6 phases. Number 1, get informed. Number 2, work on your professional compensation value. Number 3 and number 4 are the ones that we're going to focus on a little bit more today, because we don't have time to go through all of them. And then number 5 is mock negotiation, and number 6 is time to shine. So those are the 6 phases that I've identified working with people, working with myself, and then within this negotiation series that I just completed. So the first one is just get informed. This is just basically doing your research, going on Google, doing salary checks, things like that, knowing that there's pay transparency laws and pay ban history laws. And by the way, you feel free to take screenshots of the slides and take notes so that you can remember some of the things that I'm talking about today. The second one is know your professional compensation value. Now, this is called know your worth. I want to recognize that you are priceless, that there is no dollar amount that we can put on human life. So I want to make sure that you understand that when we talk about know your value, it's the value that you bring to yourself. But here we're talking about the professional compensation value. We're still in the business world. You still need to understand what the compensation benefits that fit you are going to be, what you're going to be asking for. So that's phase 2. Phase 3 is crafting your crafting your script. And I'm going to come back to that because I want to focus on phase 4, which is embracing your emotions. The reason I want to focus on embracing your emotions is because getting a job is really emotional. You may be feeling like, holy cow, I have not been within the job force for 3 years or 5 years or maybe 10 years. My sister is just going back into the workforce, and her daughter is 17. She'll be going to college in the fall. And she's having those trepidations of like, I haven't been in the workforce for 17 years. What is it going to be like now? You may be thinking about advancing to a new position or asking for a salary increase. And all of that creates emotions in you that bring anxiety and fear. And the reason why I want to focus on this is because when you have your emotions in check, when you are able to be aware of your emotions, then the other stuff you can do much easier. So the research and the, figuring out your compensation, your professional compensation value, that's more thought-provoking in a concrete way. This is more emotional. So I want you to realize that you need to become self-aware of your body. You need to feel your feelings and ground yourself. So if you're if you're about to walk into the conversation with your manager and you're feeling that anxiety, and it could be a conversation with your family or your husband about some difficult, topic, ground yourself. And the reason you want to ground yourself is because it calms your body. So just by deep breathing, and at work, if you're going to have a conversation with your manager, you can always step into the bathroom and go into a stall, do some deep breathing, And that right there helps your vagus nerve, which is right under your breast, to calm down. Feel your body. When you feel your body, it kind of brings you back into the moment that you're okay. Nothing is going to happen to you. And that's really big. You also want to have a lot of compassion for yourself, because regardless of the outcome of whatever happens in that conversation, you are going to be proud of yourself, because by this time you've already worked on the other phases of this journey. And I promise you, you're going to feel good about the fact that you've done your homework, you have taken action, you had the conversation, but more importantly, feeling those feelings, having compassion for yourself. That's really important. And by the way, you can learn a lot more about embracing your emotions. The episode that I kicked off the negotiation podcast with is with Joy Selden. And Joy talks, we did an entire podcast episode on January 6th this year. And you can go and listen to that. You can listen to Joy and how important it is for us to embrace our emotions. So that's the one thing that I really want you to think about, because you might be feeling vulnerable. You might be feeling scared. You might be feeling worried. You might have anxiety. And all of those things are feelings that you will have to feel, embrace, and then accept. And then you'll be able to move on. You'll have more headspace to move on to the next thing. So that's the main thing that I want you to take away from today. And now I'm going to go back to crafting your script, because this becomes fun when you are able to really articulate your worth with massive confidence, conviction, and clarity. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by going through this process. Again, this is a journey. You're not going to be able to sit and do all 6 phases. And by the way, I have a workbook on my website that goes through these 6 phases, and it gives you the details for each one of these. But crafting your script almost becomes fun, because you start wordsmithing and trying to figure out what you're going to say specifically that will give you that power to articulate and then to demonstrate your worth. And we're going to go through some examples for sure. We're going to use powerful phrases, and those are the examples. Once you're done crafting your script, what I'd like for you to do ideally is ask a trusted friend to review your script. Does this make sense? Does this come off powerful? Does this come off arrogant? Does this come off mousy? Women speak in questions, which is the worst thing we can do. If you notice, men just say things. We women, we ask questions. Is it okay if I can take a half day? And men just are, I'm taking a half day. So that's a big difference between men and women. And practice in the mirror what you intend to say, so that you can hear out loud and say the words out loud, so that when you're in that negotiation, something that you say, you're like, oh, that's not the way I intended it. So preparing is really key. So I want to go through some actual examples. So these, again, feel free to take notes, take screenshots of these powerful phrases, because I think so often we tell women, well, you need to negotiate, but we don't give you the words. And I am actually working on a powerful phrases. I don't know if it's going to be an infographic or something, but I'm getting so much good content from my podcast that I'm going to pull it all together and create powerful phrases. I don't know if it'll be a workbook. I don't know yet, but this is gold right here. So for example, if someone is questioning your qualifications, you can always respond in saying, I understand your concern, but I can guarantee you that I'm quite capable of helping your organization meet your goals. And the powerful phrase there is helping your organization meet your goals. I promise you that if you say something like that, the interviewer or your boss their ears are just gonna perk up. They're gonna be like, what? You're going to help me meet my goals? Holy cow, let's have a conversation. So that is going to be so key. if you happen to have a gap in employment, you can always say, and let's just say that you were a stay-at-home mom for many years. You can always say the gap in my employment history is because I dedicated myself to my family. However, I can assure you that many of my skills as a mom are transferable to your organization. Okay, let me hang on one second. Okay. All right. The next one is if you are, oh, and by the way, again, the powerful phrase there is, I can help you meet your goals. And then next is, if for whatever reason you go in and you do your whole spiel and your pitch, and the person that you're talking to says, I really cannot do this for you right now, so your request is declined, you can always say, I understand that you are not able to accommodate my request. Can you please help me understand why? And then listen to what they're going to say, because it's important for you to realize that there is power in listening. So if they have goals that they want to meet and you help them meet, then that's going to be critical for them. So you can always come back and say, can we discuss the topic again in 3 months? And then during that time, you can talk about you can work on the things that you talked about as far as the goals. Okay. And then just a couple more powerful phrases, and then we're going to move on, is whenever you're in disagreement with somebody, men typically are able to just say, nope, I don't agree, and then they can just move on. However, for women, we really need to be much more, play in the sandbox. You can't just disagree, because then you're called names, or, people tell you that you're, not playing with the right tools and whatever. So here's one quick trick that you can do. You can say, first of all, you can take your face and then you just kind of tilt it over. And by just tilting it, it diffuses what you're going to say. So you can, whatever you disagree with, you can say, I see it differently. Here's what I'm thinking. So right there, you're still disagreeing, but in a very agreeable manner. And then I volunteer with an organization, and we wholeheartedly believe that networking is the best way for you to get a job. So I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but you can reach out to somebody on LinkedIn. And by the way, Courtney said that the screenshots are too small. So I will give Courtney the presentation so that you guys can have the presentation for sure. As far as LinkedIn, you can reach out to somebody and say, hey, would you be willing to have a 20-minute conversation? And I think more often than not, people are willing to have that conversation. And so networking through different people is the way that our clients at this organization I volunteer for definitely get jobs more often. And then I'm not going to go through all these in detail, but the first one is if you approach your boss about salary and future, and the powerful phrase here is, I would like to collaborate with you on these topics. So salary and your future with the company. If you find out, and this is this is coming up more often with the pay transparency laws, where you find out that someone is making more money than you, you can always say, how can we work together to accomplish, increasing my salary? So that's the powerful phrase there. And then if you receive a job offer that's not quite what you need it to be, then you can always start by saying, that is a great starting point. So that's the powerful phrase there. And then the second one is, if they ask you, how much are you looking for? You do not say a number, because the minute that you say a number, you lose. So you can always say, I'm open to discussing the conversation, but the important thing is, do you have a budgeted job salary range for that particular position. More often than not, actually every single time that there's a job offer, there is some kind of salary range. And depending on the state, there's pay transparency laws now that the states are required to put the salary range with the job description. New York, I know, is one of those states. And so you can go on there and you can see the range. The reason why I'm really excited about pay transparency laws is because we are one step closer in eradicating the pay gap. So I'm really, really excited about that. So these are powerful phrases that once you equip yourself with these phrases, then it makes a big difference as to how you can articulate your worth. Again, with that confidence and that with that conviction of you know who you are, you know what you bring to the table. So then the last couple of phases here is your mock negotiating. Now, you might hate role playing. I kind of hate role playing, but I promise you, when I got my executive vice president position, I role played with my sister, my brother-in-law, and I even hired a coach to help me role play. It is so important for you to actually be in the visualize how you're going to be negotiating. You want to know that what you're saying matters. So you're going to work on your power poses. So sitting up straight and just kind of not being meek and looking down. You're going to face up, sit up straight. It's very important how you present yourself. Dress up in a suit if you need to, so that you can be interviewed by a trusted family or friend. And then prepare for different outcomes. And even if you don't get the job or if you don't get the salary raise, again, you're going to be proud of the work that you've done to develop yourself professionally, because it may not pay off for this particular situation, but I can guarantee you it'll pay off for the next one, because you're preparing, you're advancing, and you are growing. Okay, the next one, and then the last phase is, now that we've done all the preparation, and again, this is going to take time, it's going to be a journey. So it's really important for you to take action, schedule time for each of these phases. Make sure that once you do all the work, schedule the meeting and be transparent. And what I mean by that is, let your manager know. So if you're talking about salary increase, for example, you want to be clear that you're going to be speaking about compensation. I recently did this with one of my employers, and I didn't want to have the conversation. I wanted to prepare them and say, I'm going to have the conversation because I don't want them to be surprised. And again, on my website, I have a free conversation starter checklist. So it gives you things that you need to do before the conversation, during the conversation, and after the conversation. And you can download that for free. And the reason why I say transparent is because you want them to be prepared and not be taken aback. And then the other thing that I didn't mention earlier is that if you walk into the conversation with your manager and they're having a screaming match with their boss or with a client or whomever, it is not time for you to have that conversation with them. So just reschedule it. And then when you are done with this whole process, and again, you know that you've grown, you're going to be proud of yourself. And now you have the power to negotiate, and you're going to be able to articulate your worth with massive confidence, conviction, and clarity, because you have done the work. And then this is just a quick quote that, says, basically, if you don't take action, nothing is going to happen. So be proud of yourself, be proud of the work that you've done, because you are deserving of the position of your dreams. You really have the tools that you need in order to step into a job, to get that promotion, that salary, go to another position. But more importantly, you are deserving. You need to embody a growth mindset. Carol Dweck has a fantastic book about fixed mindset and growth mindset. If you're operating in the fixed mindset, I really highly encourage you to read that book because it is fantastic. And then today we focused more on executing a focused strategy. So everything that I talked about today is about you executing a focused strategy, because without a strategy, you're kind of flying out there in the sky and you have no destination as to where you're going. I'm Rosie Zilinskas. I am a professional speaker, best-selling author, and I have my podcast as well, also called No Woman Left Behind, which is the name of my company. I do career strategy. So if you're interested in learning more, go to my website. It is also nowomanleftbehind.com, and they're going to be putting some links in the chat there. But reach out to me. Reach out to me, because if you have questions, I would be happy to have a conversation with you. And if you're interested in taking the quiz, again, the link is going to be on the chat. And I really encourage you to take action, because again, without action, nothing ever happens. And so I'll leave you that one amazing quote by Maya Angelou that says, nothing will work until you do. So remember to be brave, be bold, and more importantly, take action. I hope you took screenshots of, the slides. And if you didn't, again, I'll give them to Courtney so that she can email them out. And I just hope that this information was helpful to you. And my hope for you is that you are able to have the career of your dreams so that you can live a happy life for you, and then obviously for your family as well.